Hello, how you doing? I hope you're doing good. Hope you're having a good day. Thanks for being here. And, wait a second. This ain't Picari. Oops. Hi everyone, my name is Stormi the Folf, and today I want to discuss what makes fursuits, well, so expensive. This is a question that many furs have asked me, both young and old. And the answer is, well, there's no easy answer to this question. A lot of factors play a role in determining the cost of a fursuit, plus what may seem expensive to you might seem cheap to someone else. You can get a fursuit for anywhere from $100 to $10,000 or possibly more. But anyway, so you want to be covered in fur from head to toe. You got your persona ref sheet, you've got the art, and now you want to immerse yourself and more or less become the physical embodiment of your persona. That's awesome. No, seriously, try not to be sarcastic. A lot of people want a fursuit, but unfortunately, the cost of a suit can be discouraging, and if you're a younger furry who is still in school and not old enough to score a job, well, you could see where I'm getting at. So, why are fursuits so expensive? First, we need to figure out what you consider expensive. Is it $100? Is it $50? Is it $1,000? Is it $5,000? Is it a Bugatti Veyron? What might seem like a lot of money to one person might not be so much for another. It's all relative, but anyway, let's start with the bare minimum basics of what it really costs to make your fursuit a reality. First, you need the actual suit material, fur. Now, you might think it doesn't matter what kind of brand or quality of fur you use to construct a fursuit, but trust me, it's pretty important, especially if you plan on wearing it for hours at a time at conventions. The most popular type of fur used on suits, and for good reason, is luxury shag. Luxury shag fur tends to hold up a lot longer, looks better, and tends to be far more durable than pretty much any other kind of fur you might find at, say, Walmart, for instance. Really try to avoid getting fur from all-in-one stores. Go to a store that specializes in fabric and fur, like fabric.com. Honestly, I would just buy fur online, because it ends up being cheaper in the long term for the most part. If you use a lesser brand of fur, you'll eventually run into problems like balding, matting, washability, and in some cases, the fur itself might tear apart. That's not to say luxury shag isn't invincible to being ripped apart, but it's a lot harder to destroy compared to the so-called luxury shag you might find at a big box retail store. If you're gonna be walking, jumping, running, hugging, and washing the fur, you really want something that holds up well. Cheaper fur might even self-destruct the second you throw it in the wash. There's a specialized process towards washing fursuits in general, but really that's for another video, and you should really consult your suit maker first before attempting to wash your suit. But yeah, if you get the cheapest fur you can find, you might as well be flushing your hard-earned money down the toilet. You want something that lasts more than a few months, don't you? Now, recently, one of Treble's friends asked where they can find a fursuit for $100. To a lot of people, that's a pretty good chunk of change, especially if you're younger and you're still trying to find your common ground. It's understandable, but unfortunately, you'll be very hard-pressed to find a fursuit, let alone a mini partial, for that price. And if you do, there's a good possibility that the fursuit may not hold up for long in terms of wear and tear. But of course, you could always get lucky. To give you an idea, $100 couldn't even cover the cost of the fur to build my bodysuit. Fur is expensive. For quality luxury shag fur, the kind most fursuits are built from, my cost came out to around $148 US. And that was just for the fur for the bodysuit. This doesn't include the peak, the paws, the tail, and the head. If you really want to save as much money as you can, personally, I would opt for a mini partial, which includes the head, the paws, and usually the tail. Used suits are a thing, but you really have to be careful and do your research here. Nearly all fursuits are sized to fit certain body builds and head shapes. You can't just buy any used fursuit without reading the information in the listing. And yet, people do that anyway. And then they get mad because the fursuit won't fit them. Now, aside from buying fur, you also need sewing equipment. The right kind of threading, foam material to make the base, padding for the digigrade suits, markers, and other materials. While a sewing machine might be a one-time purchase, other materials such as the threading used to sew the suit together, along with the needles, do run out or become exhausted, and eventually you'll have to buy more. Excluding the sewing machine, these can add a small fee to the cost of your suit. Another thing I want to mention when it comes to fursuit cost, the head will almost always be the most expensive piece of any fursuit. It takes the longest to make, and it can take hours upon hours upon hours to sculpt and form them. Okay, so you're paying for the fur, the materials, and everything else. Are we forgetting something? Labor, work, hours of blood, sweat, and tears. Okay, maybe not literally, because no one wants any of that on their fursuit, but you get my point. Most fursuit makers are not going to make a fursuit for free, and rightfully so. That's their spare time they're spending making your fursuit a reality. And aside from volunteering, no one should have to work for free. Because of the wide variety of how suit makers perform their work, how long they take, and the cost of living in their area, there's no easy way to average the cost of labor or hourly pay in fursuit making, especially since it typically falls under self-employment. And don't get me started on popular suit makers. I'm talking about the well-known established makers like More for Less and Lemon Brat, for instance. When you're running a business with multiple people, you have to set aside funds for things like taxes, insurance, travel expenses, shipping costs, rent for the business building, and so on. These reasons can contribute to small price hikes, but they of course don't represent the majority cost of what it takes to build your fursuit. While things like this may be out of your control, luckily you do have a choice between tons of makers to choose from all over the internet. You might think it's unfair when suit makers charge way more than you can afford for a suit, but well, it's their right to set their prices how they see fit. More for Less full suits cost around $4,000, but my full suit, a Splinter Fox suit, cost me around half that amount. I still want a More for Less suit, by the way. Anyway, but both Splinter Fox and More for Less constantly, and I mean constantly, have quotas and get new customers all the time. Even after More for Less went up on their prices, they're still super busy with new customers, and they're always getting rave reviews. I don't know about you, but if you're able to raise your prices and you still get a ton of customers, that means you're running a successful business. If I were a suit maker, I'd use that as motivation to help grow my suit making trade. So while one maker might be out of your price range, it doesn't mean they're alienating you, because there's always, and I mean always, new suit makers emerging all the time. And these people are pretty darn talented, so keep that in mind. While the general rule of thumb is you get what you pay for, this isn't exactly always true. It's very possible to spend thousands on a fursuit only to get one that's not as described, while at the same time, you could score a rad fursuit head for the fraction of that price. But generally, the more you spend, the better the build quality will be. Of course, if you spend $10,000 on a full suit and compare it to a $5,000 full suit, the build quality on both suits will probably be pretty close, and you're paying for more for the style, design, brand, and overall aesthetic at that point, but that's just my opinion. If somebody wants to fill me in on that and thinks I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments so I don't look like an idiot. My advice to you is to just stick with a reputable maker or someone you can trust. Anyway, once you've settled on a maker, you need to figure out what kind of fursuit you want, which can have a major effect on the price. Are you making a mini partial, puffy paws, or just a complete full suit? Mini partials are the cheapest, while full suits will always cost the most. If you're brand new to suiting, a mini partial might be your best bet, along with the kigurumi to complete the set. This is what I used to do before I had my bodysuit, actually. Now, if you still think fursuits are far too expensive, just keep looking for that one suit maker that hits the soft spot that you're comfortable spending on. Or just keep saving up towards a fursuit in general. Competition in suit making really opens the door for other and newer suit makers to step in, because they may offer lower prices on their fursuits, not only to stay competitive, but just to get their name out there. A brand new suit maker might take a loss just to let the world know that they make fursuits, as in they make very little or no profit. They'll underprice themselves, but this doesn't always happen. It's very possible to score a quality mini partial for under $900 if you really know where to look. Heck, I've heard of some people getting a pretty decent fursuit head for half that amount. And again, even lesser than that, I've heard of people getting fursuit heads for $200. And once you start getting that cheap, you're not going to get much cheaper than that, unless, again, you get lucky. Look through FurBuy, the Dealer's Den, and just furry groups on social media. Always remember, however, there's a slight risk with buying a cheaper fursuit if the seller is new to suit making, since they don't exactly have an established reputation yet or just history. At the end of the day, if you want a fursuit but you can't afford it, remember there are a lot more choices to pick from than you may realize, and if you put your mind to it, you just might find a fursuit you like even more. Now, if after spending months upon months, if you still can't find a suit maker you trust, or a fursuit that just catches your interest, or you just want to save as much money as possible, try to make one of your own. I know that's easier said than done, but heck, I can't make fursuits myself, but there are a lot of tutorials online that give you a basic rundown on making things like puffy paws, for instance. If you start making your own fursuits, you can learn more than just fursuit making along the way. You might even learn how to run a business. And that's something you cannot put a price on unless you're going to college for it or something. But going back to suit making, in some ways, I have more respect for those who actually go out of their way to make their own fursuits. Even if they're not perfect to every single stitch, even if they're not perfectly symmetrical. I have a lot of respect for people who just go out of the way to make their own fursuits. That's not to say there's nothing wrong with paying someone to make your fursuit or just getting a pre-made, but there's something just special about wearing something that you yourself made. It's something you should be proud of. By making your own fursuit, you have something that's truly one of a kind. It doesn't matter what others may think about your suit. What matters is you being happy with the suit that you made. That should take priority. You make your suit however you want. Don't let others sway you into something you're not comfortable with. But yeah, that's about all I have for this week's video. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like. That's a thumbs up, that's not a middle finger, I swear. Consider giving it a like, maybe leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't, share it with the other furry friendos on social media, and yeah, it's really hot in here. I got to hurry up and edit this video before Friday afternoon. Anyway, I love you all so much, thank you all so much for watching my videos, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye!